Hello everybody and welcome to this, the 11th Mega Drive Symphony of the Night Developer's Diary. In this episode I'm going to briefly take you through some of the lower level coding improvements I've been making to the game. I'm also going to show you how I do some of the animations for the characters. And I'm also going to take you back to an area of the castle that we've seen very briefly before in another video. And there we're also going to meet an enemy that we've met before, but both of these, this time they'll come with a new Pyron makeover. But before we get stuck into all of that, I'm happy to announce that I've finally opened a Patreon page. It's something that quite a few people have been asking about since I set up the channel, but now that I'm finally uploading the tutorials I've promised for so long, I thought it was about time. I don't really have any grand schemes for it, it's more just a chance for people to show their appreciation for the work I've been doing. So don't worry, there's not going to be a ton of Patreon only content. The only thing I'm really going to add extra is when I'm preparing to do the videos, I might have some raw footage that I filmed beforehand that I then edit into the videos. So for some of that raw footage, occasionally I'll put it just on Patreon just for people to get like a sneak preview. But apart from that, it's just going to carry on as normal. Okay, now let's get back to the video. Now you may have noticed this footage I've been rolling since the very beginning, which on the surface doesn't look very impressive, but there's a lot going on here. I wonder if any of you have guessed right yet. Now this is a stationary Alucard sprite scrolling against what is a single background layer. Now something you've noticed, especially on the second statue here, is first of all it's a different color, and second of all it seems to have a different priority to the rest of the background. So the rest of the background has just regular priority, and the statue in particular, the funny colored one, has a high priority, so it's actually appearing in front of Alucard. Now anyone who's followed the videos for a long time will know that in SGDK normally we have to assign a single palette, 16 color palette, and we have to say whether it's going to be high priority or low priority for a whole entire background layer. But as you can see here, what we're doing is we're actually assigning the palette and also the priority by tiles, not by background. Now this is going to make designing the levels and putting the levels together, and also just being much more flexible with the palette, much easier than before. So it's going to be great for both for me and for Pyron. Now how exactly are we doing this? Well, it's being done with this amazing new tool currently in development, which will allow us to create levels and Mega Drive graphics in a much easier way than before. We can just use this graphical user interface to set priorities, to assign palettes, even to create a collision array so that the level collision is done rather than me having to write out a big array by hand, which I'm doing right now. And as you're seeing on your screen right now, it's just very user friendly. Now I haven't got a chance to use this myself, but the creator of the software has been helping me, and I've been sending him some stuff and I've been adjusting my codes to make sure it works with it. So I'm very excited to reveal more in a future episode. One of the examples about how I've been improving my code to make it better and more efficient is by changing the array, for example, so from an 8x8 collision array to a 16x16 collision array. And I've also transitioned that collision array from a 2D array to a 1D array. I will save all the nitty-gritty details of what that means for a future tutorial, but just for everyone to know that it's much less intensive on the CPU, it's using less memory, so it's just a massive improvement that I really should have thought of before. But luckily I've had some good advice from more experienced developers who said, hey, why don't you do it this way? So I did do it that way, and it's a big improvement in many ways. But it's not just about improvements in efficiency, it's also helped solve some bugs I've been having. For example, when you used to fall from a great height, you could fall through part of the floor, but now that doesn't happen since I switched to the 16x16 array. Okay, enough about the low level stuff, let's take a look at that part of the castle I promised. So you probably might remember this one very briefly. So this is the first part where you meet the merman, but you can see that it had a lot of problems, including just crashing at certain points, so it was in need of improvement. And it wasn't just the code that needed improving, the graphics could do with an upgrade too. Unfortunately, in the past few weeks, Pyron has been hard at work just upgrading all of the entrance level backgrounds and tiles and so on, so now they're looking much better. And here is Pyron's new version of this section here with the mermen, and I think you'd agree it's a huge improvement over the original that I drew all those months ago. The reason I'm showing you two screens rather than one is because I want to draw your attention to some physics improvements I've made to Alucard. So you can see here that he's jumping and he's hitting head against the ceiling, and there's actually two different lumps of code depending on whether he's facing left or right. So you can see the different reactions, especially when I get under this little bridge part here, whether I'm facing left or right. The reaction when he hits his head on the top is very different. Both of them look pretty janky, I'm not going to lie, so I wasn't satisfied with either of them. And apart from that, you also had this bug here where if he got too close when falling down the platform, he'll kind of, almost not freeze, but slow down very unnaturally, so I definitely wanted to fix that too. An even more egregious bug was the infamous wall jump bug. I think it was Engelbard, one of our musicians, who first noticed this, and he managed to jump over the wall. And you can see here, if you just do left and right very quickly and keep pressing the jump button next to a wall, then you would eventually kind of jump up and you do this wall jump and you'd even go through the scenery. So I definitely wanted to fix that. And as you're seeing from the screen on the left to improve one, when he hits his head now, I think the way he falls, the physics of it is much more natural, much more like the PlayStation version, and it's the same whether he's facing left or right, because now I just have one part of code, whether he's facing left or right, it's the same code running. So the speed and everything, and obviously the animation I need to change, but it's still a big improvement over what it was before. And I'm trying to do the wall jump bug now, but as you can see, it's not working, so that's a good thing, is that little bug has gone too. You may also have noticed that I tried to replicate the bug where if you fall down that platform it will slow down, but it was falling down at normal speed, so that bug is fixed now. Now as we go to the left, we're going to see something new, and there he is the bloody zombie character. While this character has made an appearance in the videos in the past, now he's had a great Pyron makeover, just like the background for this level, and his animations, his colours are all looking a lot better, and it's the animation that I want to focus on now. So when the pixel artist of the project, Pyron, when he sends me a new sprite, this is what he normally sends, is a animation in a sprite. And you can see all the different types of animations, and he's done a really great job, not just with the colours, but with getting the speed correct too. So I think if you look here, it's all smooth. Now I have to look at the speed myself, so I need to try and find a way to get this and to translate it into the Mega Drive. So it says here, if I right click and open up the properties, there is 60 milliseconds per frame before it changes. So I have to take that and I have to do a bit of maths here. So what I first do is, so there's 1000 milliseconds in 1 second, so I take the 1000 and divide it by that number there, the 60, to get 16.67 frames per second, so it moves quite quickly. But then the Mega Drive runs at 60 frames per second, so I then take that figure, I do 60 frames per second, I divide it by that 16.67, and here I get 3.59. Now what that final 3.59 figure means is that every 3.59 60ths of a second I need to change the frame in the game. Since I can't use decimal points in this instance, I just round it up to 4. So every 4th 60th of a second I change the frame, and if you look here, I think it's pretty close. It looks really nice in the game as it does in the animation that Pyron sent. And if you compare it against that demo of the first level I did late last year, well, the difference really is night and day, both in terms of the color, the animation, the speed of the animation, everything. That goes for both Alucard and the zombie as well. I also managed to change the sound file of the zombie dying, so it's now only 10% of the size it was, and it's still quite big. It's 60 kilobytes for a single sound file, which is pretty big for a Mega Drive sound effect, but I think it's worth it for now. I'll see if I can reduce it more in the future. Fortunately, SGDK does compress this, but I'm not sure by how much. Why don't we have a quick listen of that awesome sound effect. I actually used the code I wrote for the bloody skeleton for these zombies, which is why they keep coming back to life after they're killed, but it's so much fun killing these guys. I think the artist Konami at the time had a lot of fun creating some of the enemy characters, so I think I'm going to release the ROM to everyone so everyone can have a play with it, because it's It's just so much fun just attacking them over and over again, and hearing their death cries is such a fun character. So I really hope to use it in probably a few more places than it is using the original. And you can tell just by watching this that there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of the physics and the collision. There's still lots of bugs that I want to give Alucard back his idle animation, and I want to fix the jumping animation and jumping in general. There's just tons of little things that need to be fixed, but I will do that. In the meantime, enjoy the ROM, and just before we go, we have some music news. One of the musicians of the project, Aliana, has produced not one but two really great tracks, two tracks which are not quite so well known as the others, but two of my favourites. We have Nocturne and we also have Guardian, which was a SotN exclusive track, but it's probably my favourite in the whole game. I think it's amazing, and Aliana's done a great job converting it to the Mega Drive. And I encourage all of you to go listen and let them know what you think. Okay, so that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to support the channel, do the usual like, subscribe, and if you want, join the Patreon.
I'm interested in this.
And until next time,
farewell.